I don't believe in measuring productivity by doing more in less time. For years, I've traveled down the rabbit hole of productivity tips, tools, and transformations, searching for the next best thing that would change my life. But if I'm honest, all I found at the end of this rainbow was overwhelm and significantly more frustration than that I already had. Simply because there are too many rules and not enough practical conversations. So in this video, I will show you the 4 practical steps I'm taking to improve my productivity with less effort. But before I do, I think it's important that we discuss some of the challenges that emerge out of not having proper systems. I'll go first. One of the biggest challenges I've faced is something I'll call the hamster wheel effect. This is when you are running at max effort, doing things that feel productive, but are actually part of the 80% of things that don't move the needle. This is in part why I believe productivity can't be measured by doing more in less time. Other significant challenges I've faced are things like burnout, which I've openly talked about before, procrastination, and as a certified overthinker, this one is a constant battle. I've also butted heads a few times with this thing called context switching. This is when I find myself distracted continuously by unrelated tasks, social media, notifications, etc., that all end up disrupting my creative flow and my workflow. Now, if you can relate to this, then I know that you know how difficult it is to recenter your focus after being all over the place. Okay, enough about me. Comment below some of the challenges you faced, and while you're doing that, let me go ahead and park some food for thought here for you to chew on. Productivity is not about doing more in less time, like I said. Instead, productivity is about systems that force intentional behavior. And I believe that you and I both can overcome all of these challenges by building and implementing better systems into our routine. Here are those 4 steps I promised you. There have been moments in my life where I've felt extremely overwhelmed simply because I agreed to do more than my time allowed. For example, favors for others that weren't urgent, projects and meetings that weren't aligned with my top priorities, and a host of other things that I deemed important. As a result, I felt like I was drowning in to-dos. But the only person I could fault was myself, and therefore I knew something had to change. Now, in true minimalist fashion, eliminating things off of your plate gives you the space and freedom to focus on the important things so you can ultimately get more done. So if I can impart some wisdom on you today, from my experience, it would be this. Learn to say no so you can say yes to what matters. And for every task or project that finds its way on your calendar, be sure that you can answer these questions in confidence. Is this moving me closer to my most important goals? And how well does this align with my top priorities or values? Now, if you need help finding your values, of course, you can download my core values worksheet for free. All you have to do is go to ronaldlbanks.com/values. But eliminating unnecessary tasks and projects off of my plate has been a practical solution resulting in me getting more done because I can focus on the right things at the right time. However, the elimination process is only a quarter of this puzzle. And I don't want my enthusiasm to inflate your expectations because the follow-up question I asked myself was this: what do I do with everything else that's left? And that's when I arrived at the solution to simplify. The art of simplification is often overcomplicated, but it doesn't have to be. So to make this easy, simplification usually comes in the form of simpler processes and reduced scope of work. Let's look at my workflow for creating content to give you the best example. For the last several years, I've tried various processes and productivity apps to help me create content effectively. Everything from the Notes app on my phone to Evernote. I've tried Trello and everything in between, all the way down to the good old-fashioned Post-it sticky note. But I've had the most success with the app I'm using now, which is Notion. Now, I enjoy using Notion, dare I say love it, and the process I've built works. Although I say that with some hesitation because I've recently uncovered some bottlenecks in my system that needed to be simplified. To be frank, my productivity system sucked, and it took awareness and braveness to admit that to myself. Now, after experimenting and studying proven success paths, I decided to lean into my strengths and the things I enjoy. So here's what that looks like at a glimpse. I've moved my newsletter to the top of my content production workflow, followed second by YouTube, and then all of the other platforms fell in line thereafter. This simple shift has simplified my process tremendously because it allows my content workflow to build on top of itself. So I can take the last piece of content I created and then use that to help me build the next piece, rather than treating each piece of content I'm creating independently from one another, which created more work for myself. Now, I said all of that so I can land this plane on a very simple takeaway. Processes and systems simplify. Although what I was doing worked well previously, and maybe you've had a similar experience, but that doesn't mean it can't be improved upon going forward. Because just like eliminating, simplifying has been a great checkpoint for me in my journey. Because I'm not only simplifying my work processes, but I've also adopted this approach into how I think about everything else in life, including my time and how I spend my time, which welcomes the necessary step of delegating. To delegate is to release control of work that is less valuable than the time you would spend doing it. Now, I've struggled with delegation for a very long time, if I'm honest. But like all great lessons that I've learned and shared on this channel, I eventually realized in both business and life that the more you try to do, the more chaotic things are going to feel. So continuing with the previous example, even though I'm a one-person band right now, for the most part, and what I mean by that is I do all of my own filming and editing, I do all of my own writing, I'm the one engaging with you when you leave comments, etc. Even though I'm a one-person band right now, for the most part, I have delegated some things like bookkeeping and taxes. Plus, my wife is wildly supportive and has been very generous with her time by taking some things off of my plate and allowing me to focus my energy on the things that I enjoy, on the things that I'm good at, on the things that are more valuable to my time. Now, I said all of that to encourage you to be open to delegating if you're in a position to do so. Regardless of what your projects and tasks are, it's okay to ask for help when you need it. Right? It's okay to ask for help when you need it. And this is particularly important when we begin to notice some of those challenges we spoke about earlier starting to creep up on us, right? Things like burnout. But another thing that is equally as important as this is the simple idea of pivoting. Sometimes life happens, plans change, and your productivity processes don't go as planned. Whenever this happens, it's best to lean into the simple idea of pivoting. One of the great misconceptions about productivity is that whatever process or structure you commit yourself to, that's the way it is, and you're not allowed to divert from that. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. In improving my processes and systems, I've learned that flexibility is equally as necessary as being intentional and efficient. Without room to pivot and reprioritize, you're setting yourself up for more frustrations and challenges than necessary, resulting in poor productivity at the cost of a substantial effort. Keep growing on your journey, my friend. Keep learning. Always remember to stay true to you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.